Welcome to this week's edition of Dolfan Radio. And now, here's your hosts, Brad Michaels and John Bach.
All right, welcome back. Brad Michaels here with you at Dolfan Radio. Special edition this week. We're going to recap the big news that just shocked the entire National Football League and has probably vaulted the Dolphins up into some serious playoff discussions heading into the new year. And we haven't even gotten to the NFL draft yet. For those that don't know, and I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not know this, the Dolphins just this morning traded with the Kansas City Chiefs and have acquired wide receiver Tyreek Hill. Now, the deal comes, it's expensive, so let's break it down for you. The Chiefs are going to get Miami's 2022 first-round pick, their second-round pick, their fourth-round pick, and then in 2023, another fourth-rounder and a sixth-rounder. So that's 5 total picks that Kansas City is getting in exchange for Tyreek Hill. Now, Tyreek Hill brings his talents now to South Beach. He is going to be teamed up, obviously, with Jalen Waddle. We just picked up Cedric Wilson. Not sure at this point if Devontae Parker sticks around. Devontae Parker, as you know, we've talked about it at length about the fact that Parker just can't stay on the field. He can't stay healthy. So is Parker going to be somebody that we maybe put out there on the trading block during the draft, see if we can get a couple of those picks back? Could be. But that is the big news. Now, the Dolphins also have restructured Tyreek Hill's contract. So that big contract that Devontae Adams signed when he left Green Bay and signed with the Raiders, he's no longer the highest paid receiver in the National Football League because that designation now belongs to Tyreek Hill, who, by the way, is in a Miami uniform in case nobody's picked that up yet. The new deal with Miami is going to guarantee him $52.535 million at signing. And then he's guaranteed $72.2 million at the start of the new league year in 2023. That is a huge contract. I mean, his agent is Drew Rosenhaus. The contract is 4 years and $120 million, according to Mr. Rosenhaus. So congratulations, Miami. This is the best move that you have made in years. And I'm not the only one saying that. Just before we came on air, I was cruising through some of my emails and I noticed that there was an article, and I'm not going to pull that article up. I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been, let me double check. It might have been Omar Kelly that was saying this, that this is the Dolphins' best move. If I can see it here somewhere. No, I don't see it. I don't remember who it was. I remember seeing it, and I would agree. This is obviously the best move the Dolphins have made in a long time. And this comes off the heels of, a lot of us, and I was sitting around just over the weekend. I was talking about how I didn't think that the Dolphins had really done much in the offseason to really improve. Of course, there was a couple of things that they had done in a few moves, but the moves just weren't, I don't know if the right word is sexy, because I know that's what everybody looks for. But, we had gotten Connor Williams. We had improved our backfield with Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert and Alec Ingold and John Lovett. We had brought in Cedric Wilson, Trent Sherfield for depth. We had re-signed Preston Williams. We'd re-signed Salvin Ahmed. Of course, we franchise tagged Mike Gesicki. He signed his tag. And then we got his backup and signed his backup and a good friend of his in Durham Smythe. So I want to throw up this somebody on Twitter, and I'll see if we can get him some kudos next week's show. I just captured this. Obviously, they had worked with a spreadsheet, and they put this together. It says the offense and the defense. And if you'll notice here in the blue is all of the guys that we either re-signed or we tendered, including Mike Gesicki with the tag, and Durham Smythe, we re-signed him. I just talked about Ahmed and Williams. If you look at the defense, we kept all of our starters. We kept all of our second-teamers for the most part. Re-signed a lot of guys. And the only guy that we brought in as new was Kean Crossan. Or Crossan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. So the defense, we all knew. We all knew last year the defense was stellar. Not quite sure what happened, in the 7-game skid. They just weren't playing well. The ball was bouncing right for them. Things just didn't go right on either side of the ball. And I think a lot of the problems, though, that occurred with the defense, and we talked about this. And by the way, John says to tell everybody hello. He is traveling today, and he might be traveling next week. We're planning on doing a show. But with us next week will be Rodney Quick. And we will probably try to get Chris Barker on the phone with us next week, unless we can figure out his issues with Zoom and get him on a camera. But John says hello, so we'll be seeing John eventually, but he's traveling this week, and he'll be traveling again next week. So he's just out enjoying life and enjoying the off season as a retired NFL football player should. But if you notice, on this graphic, this depth chart that we're showing you, and we all knew that the Dolphins defense, we looked really good. We didn't need to do too much, and I think, there was some rumbling about moving forward that some of the defensive players were stating privately, and it got leaked out, as all things do, that they were not very comfortable, if you will, in having Tua Tagovailoa as their quarterback. That was something that was being stated all the time. And we get a new head coach in Mike McDaniel. Everybody from Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Cedric Wilson, all of these guys are coming in here and they're saying, look, this guy, the reason I'm coming here to Miami is this guy is an offensive guru. I want to play for this guy. So let's take a look, let's break this down. And then next week when we come back on the show, if John can join us, great. We're going to try to line that up. Otherwise, Rodney and I are going to break down where we stand with the offense, how improved are we, and then what are the areas of need, and with the draft picks that we have, and including, as I mentioned, the potential of throwing Devontae Parker out there as a potential trade, put him on the trade block and see what we can get for him to pick up a couple of those pieces. We're going to go through a couple of maybe mock draft scenarios based on our needs and see what we can possibly put together, what the Dolphins might be planning. So everything started yesterday for me. I mean, Connor Williams, left guard, that was a big signing for us, I thought. Getting Chase Edmonds, getting Raheem Mostert, getting Teddy Bridgewater to come in and be the backup quarterback. And somebody mentioned that him not wanting to discuss what his role was, or what his role was being discussed with him from the team standpoint. He wanted to keep that within the team. Somebody said, and it was interesting because it does make sense, he doesn't want to discuss that. He didn't want to discuss whether his role and what he was being told by the team was, you're coming in here and you're strictly going to be the backup to Tua. If that was a situation that was being discussed and it was something that he knew was going to happen, and somebody has told him either not to say something or he's decided he doesn't want to say anything, I had a feeling it's probably the team. They're a little secretive on this stuff now. And that was ushered in, obviously, with Brian Flores, and I think that's something that they've decided to kind of stick with, is that Patriot way of, we're not going to tell you, we're not going to tip our hat. But I would have to think, Tua is obviously, as you can see, we got Tua, he's penciled in, he's the starter. But Teddy Bridgewater, he's a starting caliber quarterback. If it weren't for the fact that the Broncos had traded for, what's his name? Russell. There's so many names that are going through my head right now. Russell Wilson. If they hadn't traded for Russell Wilson, Teddy Bridgewater would probably still be in Denver and probably be looking to start this next season. So Teddy Bridgewater is a starting caliber quarterback. So you bring in a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, well, guess what? He's going to be nipping at somebody's heels. And if Tua goes down with fractured ribs, if Tua goes down with a broken finger, if Tua goes down with a bad knee, whatever the case might be, and Bridgewater throws up some serious numbers and we don't miss a beat, Tua's time in Miami, I hate to say it because everybody's going to say, oh, you're bashing Tua. I'm not bashing Tua. I think at this point right now, what the Dolphins have put behind Tua, what they put around him, if he can't succeed with this roster, with this lineup on this offense right now, if he can't succeed in this, I don't think he's going to succeed anywhere. So Teron Armstead, he signed yesterday, left tackle. We talked about Alec Ingold. We talked about John Lovett. Those are the fullbacks. This puts Myles Gaskin. That's a crowded running back room. Myles Gaskin, Jared Dokes. You still got Adam Shaheen, Hunter Long, and Seth and Carter out there at tight end. What do we do along that offensive line now? Obviously, Jesse Davis wasn't the answer at right tackle. So now you got a chance to bring, in my opinion, if Robert Hunt can slide outside and he can play the tackle position on the right side, I think you put Liam Eichenberg over there and see if he's young enough. I'm hoping maybe you can train him. You get him back in his natural position. He's got the shorter arms to play the guard position, to play inside. He doesn't have the long arms to play tackle, which is why when we put him at left tackle last year, yeah, it worked a little bit because he was a little bit more talented, just talent-wise, than Austin Jackson, who was clearly failing at left tackle. So Austin Jackson, if he keeps his job, is moving somewhere. And I can't imagine, maybe they're going to try him over at right tackle. Maybe they're going to throw Liam Eichenberg over at right tackle or right guard. I think, in my opinion, I've heard Robert Hunt could move over to right tackle, and Liam Eichenberg moves into the right guard position. So you got a couple of guys, Jesse Davis and Austin Jackson, that could be on the outside looking in, looking for another team, or being one of those late camp cuts right before we go into the first game of 2022. So, all right, so things are looking good. And I will, this is it's definitely some exciting news this morning. I think as soon as I got the news, I was talking with Rodney. We were texting back and forth, and we're just talking about stuff in general and the possibility of doing a show next week and this and that. And the next thing I knew, he comes across with the next text. They said, "We just traded for Tyreek." And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I went out and I couldn't find, there was no article on it anywhere. It was such fresh news. I went to Twitter and saw Adam Schefter's tweet that it had been a done deal. And then about five minutes after that, Pro Football Talk picked it up. And then, of course, everybody else was picking it up. So, very exciting day. And this has turned, in my opinion, the signing of Armstead yesterday changed the entire outlook for me as far as our offseason, as I wasn't really all that excited about it. I was and I wasn't. I didn't think that we had addressed the offensive line enough. I knew we needed to get a good tackle in there, and I knew we needed to get the guard. Well, we got the guard with Connor Williams. When we finally signed Armstead yesterday afternoon, that made me feel a lot better that we'd finally done some things to improve completely on the offensive side of the ball, because in my opinion, it didn't matter to me how good the running backs were or how good the wide receivers were or even how good your quarterback is. If you don't have an offensive line that can block for the run or protect for the pass so that the quarterback has time to get the ball to his receivers, or that the running back has a hole to run through, what's the point of having a Chase Edmonds or a Mostert or a Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle? We saw last year, Jalen Waddle caught a lot of passes, yes. But he caught a lot of passes that were, 5.5, 6 yards deep because, we got to throw the ball out there. Tua had 2.5 seconds. That was his average pocket time from the time to snap the ball till he had to throw it or get flattened. And that was, I believe that was fourth worst in the National Football League last year. So that's not a lot of time. So you got to have the guys up front that can run block, they can pass block. You got to give these guys, if you got playmakers back there, you got to give them the opportunities, and everything starts up front. So I'm a lot happier today. I think everybody in Dolphin land is extremely excited about the developments today. Was it expensive? Yes, it was expensive. But here's what you've got in Tyreek Hill. You've got a known commodity. You've got a guy that is one of the top receivers in the National Football League. You've got a guy that comes in here and now makes the Dolphins probably the fastest offense in the AFC, if not the fastest offense in the National Football League. So who's going to stop us? We're going to stop ourselves with injuries or stupidity. So I like what I see. And we will be back next week. I know this is a short show, but we'll be back next week with a full in-depth analysis of all of free agency, who we missed out on, of course, who we got. We got 12 brand new guys. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 12 new guys. I had to count it again. 12 new guys on the offense that we've signed just in this offseason. We haven't even got to the draft yet. So was the trade expensive? 5 picks, 3 this year, 2 next year. Yes, but think about where we were in the draft. We weren't drafting until 29th in the first round. Now, I know a lot of people think, well, coming out of college, there's a good 100 players that are very, very good. Well, yeah, maybe. But we all know that if you're far enough down in that first round, 29th is as close to the second round as you can get, just about. And a lot of guys that are picked in the second round don't end up making a huge impact. A lot of guys that end up getting drafted number 1 don't make a huge impact. You get drafted in the top 10. It doesn't necessarily, just because of your draft position, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a successful player in the National Football League. This is a totally different league. It's not like high school, obviously. It's not like college. It's totally different. So I think the trade-off that we've got a known commodity in Tyreek Hill versus 5 unknowns in those picks that we gave up, I think we can live with this. So, like I said, that's it for today. We'll see you next week right here on Dolfan Radio. I'm Brad Michaels. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening to Dolfan Radio. Find us on the web at www.dolfanradio.com.